Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 270. Build your own dreams. If not, someone will hire you to build theirs. Farrah Gray.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's show is sponsored by Streamlit. Streamlit is a unique streaming service that is dedicated to indie films and watching the latest indie films. So if you guys want to see what other filmmakers are doing with low budget, no budget, micro budget films, then Streamlit is for you. These are real indie films, not Hollywood indie films playing as independent films. And if you are a filmmaker who has a short or feature film that needs distribution and you want to get in front of an audience, Streamlit is also for you. You can also upload your films there as well. And exclusive to the IFH tribe, you get a coupon code HUSTLE2018 to get a monthly subscription for just $2.99. That's streamlit.com. Today's show is also sponsored by Blackbox. Blackbox is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Blackbox, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content. And you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Blackbox currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Blackbox is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Blackbox, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Blackbox takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. Before we get into the show, guys, I want to thank everybody who has gone kind of nuts over IFH TV, man. I am super, super excited that you guys are excited about this streaming platform that I'm putting together, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. I'm like counting down the days to November 1st. But if you want to get early access, just head over to ifhtv.com and sign up, and I will let you guys know, maybe get a little early access to IFH TV, which people are really, really excited about. So thank you again so much for the support and the enthusiasm for what I'm doing with IFH TV. And if you guys haven't seen it, there is a teaser trailer running around the internet and also at ifhtv.com. So you can check out a little sneak peek of what you can have, what you can expect on IFH TV. So more to come on that. But today's guest is Susan Kucera, and she is a documentarian and the director of Living in the Future's Past, starring the legendary Jeff Bridges. And I wanted to have Susan come on to talk about what the movie is about, but also her process, the importance of documentarians today, how she shoots and edits everything herself, and the kind of work that she's doing as a documentarian, and kind of get inside the process of a world-class documentary filmmaker. So without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Susan Kucera. I'd like to welcome to the show Susan Kucera. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So can you first off tell us how you got into the business?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's kind of a long story. I mean, I've been filming since I was 9. I started on a Bolex, by my side of my father's side on the Athabasca Glacier. He was a geologist, and we did a lot of filming for Britannica Films.
Oh, cool.
And then fast forward long time, I was getting a divorce. And I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? And the only thing I really knew how to do really well was film. Mm-hmm. And the Red 1 camera had just come out. Actually, it hadn't even come out. I got on the list to get one.
Right. With that box that they showed at NAB.
That's right. I thought, okay. I thought, I could handle this. This takes good old-fashioned filmmaking. You can actually use cinematic lenses. It was a lot like an actual film camera, not a point-and-shoot camera. And so I got it. I made a documentary called Trading on Thin Air, and I thought, I'll just see if I can do this. And it got picked up by Netflix, and so I thought, okay, I think I can probably do this. And so this film that I just did with Jeff, it's my 5th documentary. Mm-hmm. One of the ones I did, though, was a nonprofit, so that didn't circulate in a lot of places, but it's been a wonderful experience the last 10, 12 years now.
Now, what made you get interested more into documentary filmmaking as opposed to narrative filmmaking?
Well, that's a good question. I have written screenplays, and I know how difficult it is to get films made. And when you're making, yeah, really, I know. Surprise, surprise.
You have a screenplay? What?
Actually, that's how I have it. It's so funny, all these little points that take you in these different areas. So that's why I ended up with an agent. Because that screenplay had gotten some interest, and nice. And I was still a full-time mom then, but as I said, divorce kind of forces you to get with the program. And she was able to find a home for my first documentary, my agent, mm-hmm. and that I just took off from there, and I really enjoy it. It's I have one camera, and I can move around with one camera much more easily than a giant crew, and I film all the time. I love the act of filming, and it's like hunting, right? You're capturing things that only exist in a split second and aren't there again. So like the grizzlies in the film. You can't cue a grizzly, right? So I happen to be in the right place at the right time.
You could try to cue them, but it's probably not going to work real well for you.
That's right. And it's just it's an interesting process. All of us documentary filmmakers just add to the cultural narrative the best we can. And so it's very gratifying that way.
And now what are you shooting? So what are you shooting with now? You shoot with a Red Epic or?
It's a Epic W.
I can't keep track of them. There's too many.
I know. Isn't that crazy? All the
Dragon and Monstro and whatever else.
I know. I guess on the upside, we get to recycle our hard drives, so there's no physical film in that sense.
Correct.
But
So
it is difficult. You end up on this sort of treadmill.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
I'm done. I think I have the camera that I'll just keep for the rest of my life. So
you say that now.
No, I'm definitely done.
As long as it keeps working, you'll be fine.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Now, do you also edit your own work?
I do.
What do you cut on, and how do you feel that helps you as a documentarian? Because I know a lot of documentarians that don't have that skill as far as shooting or editing. How is it working in the kind of work that you're doing?
Well, my process is very organic, and so if I edit myself, which I do, and I'm still on Final Cut 10.
Okay.
I'm not in the forward realm of whatever they're using now, all the fancy stuff.
But I'm assuming Final Cut, you're the latest version of Final Cut 10.
Yeah, the latest version of Final Cut.
It's a very powerful piece of software. Don't knock it.
No, I'm not knocking it. I'm just laughing because a lot of people say, why are you still using that? And it works for me.
They just don't know. They just don't understand.
And so obviously I'm very familiar with the imagery that I have that already. I've been filming for 10 years, so I have a lot of imagery that I can get, at my fingertips. Mm-hmm. And so if I'd handed all of that to somebody else, I think that would be very difficult for them to try to navigate. And the interviews, I used to transcribe all the interviews, and I found that to be a little bit difficult because what people say when you read it, mm-hmm. it's different than when it's in person and how they say it, et cetera, et cetera. And so I kind of gave up doing that. And I just become very, very familiar with what all of my subjects are saying. And I do my best trying to weave a story together. And I have Living in the Future's Past, it is more on the poetic side, although it certainly has an impact on people when they see it.
Now let's talk about that. Your latest film, in the Living in the Future, in Future's Past. How did it come about, and what is it all about for people who don't know?
Well, it's a film, as Jeff likes to say, it's a film that takes a good look under the hood of humanity. And we had a great executive producer. His name was Jim Swift, and I'd worked with him before. And actually, he sort of had the thought of, well, why do we do what we do in the face of large environmental issues that we are, have in front of us? And so we wanted to work with Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And
who is this Jeff you speak of?
Oh, Jeff Bridges. Sorry.
Is he a new actor? I haven't heard of him before.
I know. He's one of these fly-by-nights, right? He is such an amazing human being. What a great gift. He came on board, and we started from scratch, and we created this beautiful piece of work. And we did actually watch a lot of other documentaries. Jeff was very involved. We didn't want to just contribute another kind of doomsday or scary thing that gives you a lot of information, but doesn't sort of, you don't know, you just want to crawl under your bed after you hear that. Mm-hmm. So we decided to look at the whole human meta story, where we've been, where we are, where we're going. And we have emergence in there, and entropy, and ecology, and evolution, all the E's, right? Energy. We looked at the flows of energy, how that actually works in our society. So it's just a really different, unusual film that you keep thinking about it days later.
Now, how did you get Jeff Bridges, a legend like Jeff Bridges, to be involved in your movie?
Well, as I said, we wanted to work with someone who had a name. And so my agent, actually it was Jim. Jim thought of Jeff actually first, mm-hmm. which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And my agent did reach out to Jeff, and Jeff watched another film that I had done called Breath of Life. Mm-hmm. And he liked it. And so I got a call. I was walking up the road, and I got a call, and it said, "Oh, hey, just hang tight. I've got Jeff Bridges on the other line." And I said, "Oh, totally out of the blue." And we just kind of hit it off on the phone. And we just created this thing, and we collaborated through FaceTime. We took our time because Jeff was working on a number of films at the time. And so he would kind of disappear for a while, and I would do stuff, and then he would come back, and I would show him stuff, and we just went back and forth like this. And then as the film narrowed down towards the end, he lent himself to the film too. So he's in it as well.
Yeah, that always helps. It definitely helps. So he's just not a narrator. He's actually on screen, kind of taking you through a little bit of the journey. Right.
And I should have given him a crew credit, because he actually carried the tripod when I filmed him.
Jeff's been doing this for how many years? I mean, since he was a kid. I mean, he's been around doing this stuff. So I'm sure he didn't mind picking up a tripod.
No, he really gave his all, and it shows. And the film, I think, we're both very proud of.
So, what are you hoping for with the film? What is your end goal with people who watch the film?
Well, we decided to shake things up a bit. As I said, we approach this in a different way, and when you go to see this film, you'll actually learn a lot about yourself, and not in a blaming way or why are you a human kind of way, but actually how your brain thinks, how interesting things like talking about capitalism in terms of optimal foraging theory, which people often don't think about. Like if you're a wolf,
right?
you're spending energy, you don't want to spend the same amount of energy getting a mouse if you could spend the same amount of energy getting a deer. And and we look at that in terms of the stock market and just kind of how our whole society functions. Not whether it's good or bad, just, this is it. And so interesting concepts like that. We're always looking at ourselves, comparing ourselves to how animals operate. And so you just get an interesting idea of humanity this way. And it also allows people who are feeling vulnerable. We meet people where they're feeling vulnerable. And we kind of look at why things are the way they are. And as I said, for me, the whole energy aspect of it really opened my eyes. And so now I'm thinking about my decisions differently. I'm looking at the world differently, politics, everything. So it's kind of eye-opening, as I mentioned.
And well, first of all, how important are documentarians in today's world? I mean, there's so much stuff going on.
I know.
We live in a crazy time.
We do.
And I think sometimes the news is so busy covering the show that it's difficult for them to actually do a lot of the journalistic things that they used to do back in the day, which aren't as flashy. And I think documentarians have picked up a little bit, if not a lot of that slack. Would you agree?
Oh, I definitely agree. If you can spend an hour and a half unpacking a thought, right, or different aspects of something, you're certainly obviously going to learn a lot more than if you just got 10 or 15 minutes to listen to a soundbite here or there. And so, yeah, I guess documentaries do. I mean, it's whatever turns our brain on, right? And people are, unfortunately, we're all so busy. Sometimes it's hard to get the bigger picture. But if one can spend the time, put in the time, new ideas emerge. And I think that's the role of documentarians to and art also. I mean, this is an artistic film too. Art can sometimes shake us up and make us jolt us out of our sort of typical way of thinking. And so that's another thing that we tried to do.
Now you did you were the cinematographer on the film as well?
Yes.
Its images are gorgeous in this film. I mean, they're really, really stunning. I mean, how did you learn? Who taught you, or how did you teach yourself to make these amazing images, which are for the most part with natural light?
I know. Money.
Money? Did you pay the sun? How did it?
I would have loved to have had a crew, right? Oh, lights, everything. You make everything perfect. But when you're making a documentary and you're on a budget, you have to get really creative. And so the film, I didn't go to China and I didn't go to Dubai. There's some shots, little shots from there, here and there. And there's obviously a lot of archival footage in there too, and some stuff from NASA. But the rest is just, as I said, when I see things and they're unusual, I have my camera with me. And so I've been able to capture things that you would have a hard time putting together with a crew.
Right, because you have to move quickly.
Yeah, I utilize my daughter. I utilized 2 dancers so we could kind of, whenever I was trying to just show humanity and different aspects, I don't know, you just get creative and it came out well. But I think just because I've been filming since I was 9, I guess I just have an eye.
Got it. Now, there is a lot of archival footage in the film. Can you talk a little bit about the process of getting archival footage, if like for documentarians listening, to finding archival footage, dealing with the legalities of it, buying it, the whole process? Because I think it's a little mysterious for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not so bad if you get to the level where you're actually releasing a film like we did in the theater. It's out in the theaters today. Then you have to pay a little extra. That's for the license. But a lot of that archival stuff, I hope they don't mind me plugging them. They're called Critical Past, and a lot of their footage is from the U.S. government it's in the public domain, and you pay them. They've done all the work finding all of this stuff and making sure that it's broadcast safe, because a lot of it's obviously very old. Mm-hmm. And so that's a very good resource.
And what's the name of it? Critical Past?
Critical Past.
Okay. .com?
Yes.
I will definitely put that in the show notes, because it's rough. It's rough looking for footage, especially archival stuff for documentarians. Did you ever see the movie Atomic Cafe?
No, I didn't.
Have you ever heard of it?
I have heard of it. Yes.
I saw it in my video store when I was working there, and it's a movie completely made of archival footage.
Is it really? Oh my gosh.
The entire movie is made. They told a narrative story with archival footage of the bomb dropping, and
wow.
it's kind of like a satire.
Oh, interesting.
It's brilliant.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I know. I would go on their website, and sometimes I would just get lost watching stuff. Wow, this is fascinating.
How long? By the way, how long did it take you to shoot this or put it all together?
Well, let's see. From the beginning of working with Jeff, that was about 2.5 years ago, maybe a little longer. Mm-hmm. I mean, the film came out in festivals in February, and it's been in festivals since February. It traveled all over the world. Not me, but the film.
I know it would be nice if they would let you go too, right?
And I get a little fuzzy on the time. So yeah, I would say about 2.5 years. It probably took a year to edit. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, during the process of editing, obviously I didn't have all the footage that I needed. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to get other stuff. I need something, just something just right. So I would do that. But I'm just lucky. Since I've had this camera or, this type of camera mm-hmm. for some time, just being able to dig into my own library was extremely helpful.
Right. And what I find also fascinating about your story is, to find someone like Jeff, who's obviously a legend and an Oscar winner and all this kind of stuff, to be a part of a movie like this, you literally just had your agent call them and call his agent and go, hey, this is a project. And people never think of just calling up and saying, hey, I've got a project. Maybe they'll be interested.
Right. I don't know. We'd have to ask her. I don't know what her secret was. But she was great. Yeah. And then he watched something that I had done, but he was really turned on by the subject, obviously.
That's awesome.
And the subject that we were interested in telling, which was a little more in depth than just here's all the bad news, what crawl into your bed now. We've had
plenty of those documentaries. I've watched many of them. I'm like, Jesus.
No, it doesn't feel very well. Of course, information is helpful. That's
sure.
Important. We need that, but also I think there's a quote in the film. It isn't so much what we're thinking about the world we live in, it's how we're thinking about the world we live in. And there's all sorts of interesting philosophy through this film mm-hmm. about how to just see things slightly differently. But then there's also a hardcore, here's the reality, and we're obviously stuck with resources the way they are, energy mm-hmm. it is, and so it's sobering, but it's also exciting.
Very cool. Now I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all of my guests. What advice would you give a filmmaker wanting to break into the business today?
Make a film. That's what I did. I invested in myself. I just decided I would. Trading on Thin Air was my first film, and I didn't know if people would like it, but I gave it a try, and it was definitely low budget, but it mm-hmm. worked out okay. So that's one option. Obviously, hooking up with interning with people who are working in this field is really helpful, mm-hmm. but getting out and doing it.
Very good. Now, can you tell me what book had the biggest impact on your life or career?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's hard. Honestly, I aside from the books that I've been reading lately, that are mostly from the people who are in the movie,
right?
I was like, I don't know if I can even think back that far. Oh my gosh.
Any book that comes to mind that really had an impact.
okay, so there's a book by Timothy Morton that I actually read as I was sculpting this film. And man, I'd have to look up what it was. His latest book is called Being Ecological, but there was another one before this one. Shoot, I don't have it handy in my mind. But he the reason it was so powerful, his prose in there, it really made you reach. You really had to think. And it was a challenge to get through. And but when you come out the other end, you have all these aha moments.
That's awesome.
So I guess I just have to plug Timothy Morton's work.
Okay.
Very, very interesting. Philosophy.
Now, what lesson took you the longest to learn, whether in the film industry or in life?
Oh, well, the moment I had my daughter, I realized that I really didn't know diddly squat. Not anything.
Kids have that effect on you.
I know. And so, she's 24 now. She's working on her PhD. And I would say the process of watching another human being develop gives you some pause as to, it puts you in a vulnerable situation where you're having to reevaluate, everything that you learned, everything in your life. And so I would say that had a big impact on me.
Where can people find out about the movie and more about your work?
The movie is in theaters today, the next few days. We had Trafalgar released it in 80 theaters. And then we are still in festivals after that. And then I believe it's out VOD and everywhere you'll be able, where you see movies typically in a month and a half or so from now. Okay. Very cool. And anywhere people can find your work? Breath of Life is available. I think it's on Amazon and Hulu. I'm not sure all the places that it is, but it's easy to find. Okay. And Trading on Thin Air was on Netflix. It came out in 2008. It was on Netflix for 6 years. And then I was asked if I wanted to re-put it out. And I didn't, because it was my first work. And I thought the sound was not well mixed. I thought, okay, I don't really want people to, but it was actually it was a fun, good movie. Very good. Susan, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk, and thank you for making such a wonderful film. It's a very important film that needs to be done nowadays without question. But thank you so much for sharing your process with us. Oh, no problem. Sorry for my lack of memory in the moment here. It's been a wild ride with this theatrical. We're all just kind of fried. Not a problem at all. Thanks again. All right. Thanks. I want to thank Susan for coming on and sharing her process with us. Thank you so much again, Susan. And you guys, I've seen the movie. If you haven't seen it, Living in the Future's Past is a wonderful documentary about the world, about where we're going, or where we've been, and hopefully it'll do some good out there. And if you want to get access to the movie, check it out in theaters. It's out today. And it will be out in VOD in the next month or so. But if you want to go to the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/270, you will get all the links to everything we talked about in the episode, including the criticalpass.com, which is an amazing archival site if you are doing documentaries as well. So that's it for another one, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And more stuff coming on IFH TV. I promise you, I cannot wait to show you everything. I'm working on getting the apps on right now onto Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon. So I'm hoping they're going to be available when we launch November 1st. If not, they'll be available right soon after. But of course, you'll have access to it on the web, and then we'll worry about the other apps and stuff later on coming up in the next few weeks after that. So it's going to be crazy, and we have some just insane content. I can't wait to share it with you guys. I'm so excited. So thanks again for all the support, guys. And as always, keep that hustle going. Keep that dream alive. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.